Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. We are coming to you. Doing a podcast. We're hanging out. But when I woke up this morning, one of the first things that I saw was Regina King's son, at the age of 26, committed suicide. My mind was blown. I was so taken back that I really wanted to talk about it. So um, I connected with my friend Steve, Mr. Palou, Popular, and we just want to talk about it. We really are positive, so supporting men's mental health, but we shouldn't let things like this go unaddressed. So, Steve,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, I mean, at this point, it really shouldn't come to a surprise that, it's a boy that committed suicide, which is, it's kind of uncomfortable to have to say that, you know what I mean? But
Uh-huh.
it really is not a surprise, and it's really unfortunate. Um, because as most people understand, is the suicide rate for men and boys is incredibly high,
Mhm.
and no one seems to really care much about that. So no one seems to really addressing that, and it certainly isn't getting much national attention. Um, yeah.
Do you think? Do you think that people don't want to talk about it? Is that your?
Oh, I think she broke up really bad. Um, if I think I'm assuming what you were saying was that something about talking about it. I don't think public discourse is one where people want to know or really care that much about men. So it's difficult to say. I would like to think that there's a large population of people that want to engage in that conversation, but I'm not really confident it's going to do much until we actually start addressing it on a national level. Much like the epidemic, it really should be considered. So
I'm sorry about that. I lost my connection, so
that's okay.
um,
I continued on without you.
you know what? Excellent. I appreciate that. There we go. Um,
I figured
did
it'd
you?
just buy you enough time to get back in.
Well, thank you. Um, by the way, the last thing I heard was there is no surprise, or there should be no surprise that it
Yeah,
was a boy who committed suicide.
yeah,
And you were saying that maybe we don't want to talk about it.
yeah. I don't think people want to. I don't think people want to talk about it. I think any attention taken off of the struggles of anybody else, um, kind of. Oh, I don't know how to put it. Really, honestly, it just seems like men are kind of the what do they call it? The kicking horse or whatever. I mean, it's just a mule you kick around. Nobody really cares about it. And I think a lot of men feel the same way. We feel like we're just kind of, I know, for lack of better terminology, it feels like we're just kind of used and abused and rode hard and put away wet. And when it comes for us to have some attention about our own mental health, I think the conversation stops short. I don't think people are very interested in it.
So, yesterday we were on a panel together and we were talking
Yeah,
about positive masculinity. And Charles and Charles put forth this idea that it was the man's job to be the strongest one in the relationship. And Mr. Palou backed up this idea as well. And he was using the phrase, the man should be the pains taker in the relationship. And I'm just curious, what's your mindset on that? On that,
that's a good question, and that's a tough question because I believe that the answer isn't as simple as we'd like to say it is.
Uh-huh.
because we have to understand that we're still, most men are, myself included, are still operating under the assumption of what has been the natural course of existence for all time and eternity. Men have always been kind of that solid rock foundation, in the sense of kind of an emotional anchor to the rest of the family, right? If dad's freaking out and dad's the toughest man alive, that stuff tends to start falling apart. And so it's been men now, whether this idea was placed on men or men just adopted it and adapted it, I can't say, but it seems like men took up the mantle to be the strong ones, and that's, I don't like saying it this way because it feels like I'm disregarding women's struggles, and I'm not. But there is some part of me that feels like I am supposed to be the emotional anchor for my family. Like I'm supposed to be the strong one. I'm not supposed to give in to, fleeting whims of sadness or despair. I've got to be there for my family. But then there's the other part of me that realizes that my wife is amazing, and she does, like I said, when my heart is too heavy to carry, she carries it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she takes up the mantle of that responsibility when I can't. But even then, I don't let that be shown to anybody else, especially my children. This is usually something that goes on, in the bedroom, and I talk to her and I say, hey, I've got a problem, and I can break down in the bedroom. She can do her magic and talk to me and hold me, and then I can clean myself off and wipe the tears away and let the redness kind of drain from my eyes, and then I can go back out. But the important thing there is that I have an emotional, supportive wife and partner who can do that for me. And the problem then becomes, what about those who don't? Those are the ones that we like. I'm lucky in that sense, and my concern is, what about the men that don't have partners or don't have available access to a healthy, supportive group of friends or family? You know what I mean?
So, I mean, I'm listening to you, and I'm going and I'm thinking about experience as well. It feels like to me that although men are strong, there are expectations that are actually making them um, very weak in a sense,
Yeah.
because if you are very rigid, that will make you crumble. And the way that men's mental health is structured for me feels very rigid. It doesn't flow. It doesn't flow with the wind. And
Yeah.
so when hard times come upon it, it breaks. It breaks. Whereas now I'm going to contrast this to women,
Hmm.
particularly in my community. Now, in my community, African American communities, women are viewed as very, very strong. We have Big Mama, or some people call that person Medea. But if you notice, a lot of times in Black movies, it is not the man that everyone is looking to for answers per se. Um, and so Big Mama is a very strong woman. She's cooking, she's cleaning, she's working. She's the matriarch of the family. And
Yeah.
so this idea that men are supposed to be the all in all, um, it's not 100% foolproof. By the way, Big Mama is not 100% foolproof. I think if we look towards the positivity and strengths of both of those models, we will get a better outcome. Hence we are better
Yeah.
together. Big believer. Um, I'm a big believer of that.
That brings up an interesting thought that I was having as you were speaking is that the way that perhaps there's a difference in the way that men and women perceive the need to be needed. So, from my position, I can speak for at least some men, where when people view us as unstoppable, we get shit done, we don't mess around. We say it's going to get done, it's going to get done. And we can do all the things. It's like we're magic, right? Every guy wants to be that guy that everybody can rely on and is respected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, men are it's almost like we're biologically conditioned to do battle, right? So everything that we look at is done through in the lens of battle. That's why we are horrible at listening to your problems, because we want to fix the problems, right? It's the challenge, it's the overcoming of problems. So everything is kind of like this battleground on some either small, minuscule measure or massive. It's just men want to do battle with the world in some way.
So
And
I have a
go
question. Who would you
ahead.
say would be a representative of this big, strong guy that's going to do battle? Give me an example, a social example that I would recognize.
Jocko Willink. Um, you know, I almost said Kevin Samuels, but I'm not going to say Kevin Samuels because he's
So don't do
too
that.
he's yeah he's too abrasive. There's
Yeah.
that, like, when we look at men. Okay, I got the perfect one for you. Everybody's seen Lord of the Rings, right?
Yes.
Aragorn. Aragorn is the ideal man.
Okay.
Aragorn has
What is he?
his.
Which one is he? Wait. Which one is he?
He's man's representative. He's the king of men. Well, he becomes the king of men later on.
Okay.
He is first introduced to us as Strider, when the hobbits meet him at the, what is it? I want to say it's the Dancing Pony, but I can't remember the name of the inn.
Okay.
But
So you know what? I'm lost. I thought I could hang. I cannot hang with Lord of the Rings. I'm lost. I can't find it. I do not. Give me a. So let me. Tony Soprano. All right.
yeah,
And I'm not looking for a perfect example. What I'm looking for is a guy that is out there uh, um, being a man, but you know.
well, in that case, I would rather example a real human being. So I would
Okay.
say talk to your local mechanic, talk to your local garbage worker, talk to your police officers and stuff like that. You're going to get a really good example of that from those individuals. Those guys that go through the grind for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day. They're in the shit. Literally, sometimes they're in the shit. And they still hang up their coat when they go home and try to be a productive member of their family. But if you were to characterize that by someone, um, boy, I mean, I guess Tony Soprano would do it in a way, but there's,
Definitely not a perfect example,
oof,
but I'm so glad he
yeah,
was getting mental health. And it would be like Medea is not a perfect example, right? But it's getting
yeah.
it's getting to the point of what I'm talking about. I think you know what? I think we should do like a fun cast, Medea versus Tony Soprano.
That would be a riot.
I
Um,
know, but it's how they go about solving problems and where strength, where
okay,
the strength of the family really lies, because that's what I'm
just
trying to figure out.
look up any 80s or 90s family sitcom. There you go. Those
Okay.
dads were the ideal dads. They were strong, supportive. They were, they could do anything, and the children looked up to them, and the wives respected them, and the husband respected the wife, and it was this ideal kind of a scenario. But yet they did struggle with certain things in those shows.
Okay.
We never saw
Are
the
we
father get
talking
into something that he couldn't get out of, but he was always sensitive but strong.
sensitive but strong? Okay. Hmm. I know
Like
we're not.
if I could put it into words, the stereotypical best man would be the man who is willing to do absolute violence but knows how to withhold that.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a specific person from from that era, but I'm being blocked. Now I'll tell you why I'm being blocked because I can't get Everybody Loves Raymond out of my head. I cannot, and I can't because
Yeah,
the dad. Okay, I can't remember his name, but the dad um, reminds me of, of a lot of men. He just
home improvement.
Home Improvement. Yes, 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 yes. That's a really good one. That is a good one to compare to Medea.
Yeah,
That's a really good one. But I will tell you, a lot of men end up showing up in the world, just like the guys from Everybody Loves Raymond. So they
yeah,
might be trying, they might be going for home improvement, but they end up showing up in the world like the three characters. Some men are the dad, and then some men turn into, Raymond, and then some men turn into the brother.
yeah.
It's very, very exaggerated characters, but they kind of go that way.
I really wish I could say um, um, the Cosby Show.
You know what? I want to say the Cosby Show so bad, but
With everything Bill's done, it's difficult to reference that in a good positive light. But if you were to exclude all of that, let's say you were an alien coming to Earth and
yeah.
you had no idea of what happened, and all you had was the Cosby Show, that would be, I would say, a perfect example of what a father no, I got it. Nope, nope, nope. Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Ah, okay, I'm with you. Okay. Yeah,
Fresh
okay.
Prince of Bel Air.
He would be
Um,
perfect. He would be
what was his
perfect.
name?
Phil, Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil was the man to be a father. He was the one to look up to, like that, because he was a big guy. He was physically big, but
Uh-huh.
he was kind and he could talk to his children straight and fair and not disabuse them of their emotions. Right? He could talk to them, listen to them, deal with their problems with them, and walk alongside with them through all of their pains. But yet, there was more than enough times in that entire series where Uncle Phil could lay a big goddamn smackdown if he needed to. I think there was actually one episode where he knocked the dude out, but I can't remember.
I don't know,
But
but
I
I think
mean,
there was more than one episode where he threw Jazz out of the house.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, there was many, many. They're just like, oh, great, he's here. Um,
So
but
I think he's ideal. I would not put the characterize Medea up against Uncle Phil because, you know, he is a good example of manhood. And what I was trying to do was pull out the characterized version that people have in their head about the matriarch versus the patriarch, so to
yeah,
speak. Medea is far from perfect. So, but she gets stuff done, and she's like a over the top characterized version of the matriarch woman, right?
yeah.
Uncle Phil is like perfect. He, he's a, I don't know that he would allow us to laugh at the mishaps that actually occur. Um, with men. So he would not allow that. He did such a good job. I
Yeah.
do want to bring this back around to mental
Regina
health.
King.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Regina King, and the fact that, first of all, my heart just began to break. And you want to say, right, he must have had everything. He couldn't have really wanted for anything financially, right?
Right.
So why would why did his circumstances come to this? You know,
You know, there's something to be said for the fact that when money can't solve those kind of problems. They can solve immediate problems and they can solve future problems, but they can't solve the kind of problems that money can't pay for, which is like a heart. You know what I mean? You can't pay for a soul. You can't purchase those things to heal those. Right? It takes a deep amount of personal effort. That's how you pay for it. And you know, I don't want to say anything poorly of her son or of Regina, because I love Regina as an actress. Oh man, I've always respected her and always loved her. But what you do find is in these families, these super rich families or these wealthy families, these celebrity families, is that child then becomes forcefully closed off from the real world. Right? They have no concept of what the inside of my house would look like or how my children play. Right? Because they can't go outside without like paparazzi just snapping pictures of them the whole damn time. Quite frankly, if I could give a recommendation to any celebrity, I'd say never have kids. But
what?
yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty strong.
Absolutely.
That's pretty
It
strong.
is. It is very strong, but it's like if unless you plan on sheltering and protecting that child for their entire life, barring few circumstances, I mean that kid's going to have a really difficult time in life because they're always going to be known as so and so's dad or so and or excuse me, so and so is your dad or so and so is your mom, right? It's always going to be that deep personal image is always going to be displaced by the image of their parents. So they
And
don't get to have that inner identity.
I don't know, man. I rock with you hard, Steve, but I can't find that
I
one.
could I could be
Um.
totally wrong because
Oh.
I
Oh.
don't know their lifestyle as much as they don't know mine.
Right. I'm like, oh, I'm a celebrity, i.e., don't have kids. Oh no. I don't know. You know what? I I am going to press pause. I'm pressing pause on that one.
Well,
I'm going to I'm going to switch topics, and we'll come back right to this conversation, but we will take a brief intermission. Right. I'm going to take a brief intermission. What you like this picture, right? You like it? I love it. This is a commercial. This is actually a political ad. Do you know this already? You know about this? Steve.
no, I
Oh,
don't know
no.
about it.
Well, it's a gift to you. Happy Saturday. Here you go. Wait, I got to put myself on mute. Lee, check me out. I'm remembering so you don't get the echo. Hold on.
Every 37 seconds, someone is arrested for possession of marijuana. Since 2010, state and local police have arrested an estimated 7.3 million Americans for violating marijuana laws, over half of all drug arrests. Black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana laws than white people. States waste $3.7 billion enforcing marijuana laws every year. Most of the people police are arresting aren't dealers, but rather people with small amounts of pot, just like me. I'm Gary Chambers, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Every 37 seconds, someone is arrested for possession of marijuana. Since 2010, state and local police have arrested an estimated 7.3 million Americans for violating marijuana laws, over half of all drug arrests. Black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana laws than white people. States waste $3.7 billion enforcing marijuana laws every year. Most of the people police are arresting aren't dealers, but rather people with small amounts of pot, just like me. I'm Gary Chambers, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
I'd vote for him.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Very effective. You know what? So that clip I had was like a minute and 13 seconds. His message, I think, is even shorter than that because it played twice, right?
Yeah.
It was succinct. The visual is powerful. That ad is being played everywhere. And but for him smoking marijuana on camera, I would not know him.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it first starts out and you're thinking, oh, he's gonna light up a cigar. He's gonna be that quintessential wise man, and he is, And then it just turns out that he's smoking a joint or a blunt or whatever they're called, because I don't smoke weed, but so I'm not familiar with the words, but yeah, and then you're like, wow, okay, that's cool.
What? I
That
can't
is
believe
a
I found
cool way to
another
approach
person on
that.
the internet that doesn't smoke weed. What? You're kidding me.
Yeah, never did it. I was a speed freak. Speed and heroin were my things.
I don't know.
I mean, I did smoke weed before, but it just never did anything for me. Sorry, Palou.
Go ahead, Blue. I don't know. He'll jump in when he's ready, but I don't care if other people smoke weed. That's their thing. It's just not my thing. You know, I cannot
Yeah.
imagine myself high.
Well, I
I'd
just
be
want people to have the right to do what they want, so long as it doesn't violate the rights of someone else.
right, right.
You know.
Go for it. I think it should be legalized everywhere. Everywhere. I think
Okay,
federally.
yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that's a blunt. When you roll it like that, that's a blunt because you like it's like a cigar. They take a cigar, but they take out the tobacco in it and they put all the marijuana in it and they roll it in the blunt. That's what they call it.
That's what I thought. Thank you. Yeah, because the joint's rolled with cigarette paper, and then a blunt is rolled with a cigar. But it's been so long since I've even had to have that conversation.
So
So
you got listen, if there's a professional marijuana smoker out there, could you let us know a little something something?
yeah, Snoop Dogg, come on, dude, come on the show.
Ooh. I had a guy, he has a marijuana shop in Vegas and he came on and he did a nice interview with me. Um he was smoking the whole time he was on camera. That was funny, you know.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is, like in states like Colorado, where weed is completely legalized, crime has dropped. The assumption was that DUIs would go up. DUIs have not gone up. Crimes lowered, violent crimes lowered. There's been a lot of benefits. And after watching that video that I recommended by Johan Hari, it seems to make sense when we decriminalize something, like when we decriminalize human behavior,
Hmm.
like that. It seems to have a positive net effect on communities and countries. You know, so it's very interesting. But with Regina King, I have to go back there, and I have to amend my statement, because there's got to be, there must be really fine ways of helping, if you're going to have children and you're a celebrity, the to have the groundwork laid to give them a good foundational understanding of the world. My biggest concern has always been, what is happening where these kids feel so alone, that and some of the adults. I mean, look at Robin Williams and the guy from Lincoln Park. I can't remember his name right now, but the majority of celebrity suicides recently have been men. And it's like it's got to be an incredibly lonely existence. You know.
Robin committed suicide. First of all, I am not pro suicide. I am not pro suicide. But
Absolutely.
He was diagnosed with something, I believe it was called Lewy body dementia.
Yep.
I believe he was diagnosed with that. And that is a really horrible fate. So, on one hand, I am very much against suicide, but I am, if you're sick, if you're sick and you have no hope, I don't know how to put that. I don't know how to give that respect, but I think we have to open up space for a right to die, if that
Right.
makes.
I'm 100% on board with you. I've always been a supporter of assisted suicide, medically assisted suicide. I think it's always been, especially for those who are suffering and in pain. I mean, we do this for animals. I mean, and we are human beings with deep emotions and deep feelings, much more than any animal does. But yet we can't afford the same kindness to human beings. It just seems weird to have someone suffering in a hospital bed for years at a time, and you know, not give them the opportunity that if they ask for it, give it to them, help them.
Right.
And that gives family members an opportunity to say goodbye, which they didn't get to do with Robin. They didn't get to do with dude from Lincoln Park, Chester Bennington, Benningfield, Bennington. They're just gone, and then the family is left with that rift, that loss, that massive loss. Whereas with assisted suicide, you get to have, I mean, you could have a party. You could be like, let's throw a banger of a party and tell this person that we love them and that we're going to miss them, and that they mean something to us.
Yeah, man.
And you never know. That might even be the thing that is like, you know what?
I'm
I'm in a lot of
staying.
pain, but I'm staying. This is cool. You know what I mean? But in the end, at least when if they decide to really truly end it, you've given people closure. Because my friend Chris committed suicide 2.5, 3 years ago.
Hmm.
He just walked out of work and went and shot himself up in a canyon in Utah. And
Right.
he left behind his 2-year-old little girl who her birthday was like a week away. Something just snapped in him, and he just like got up from work, left work, didn't even clock out, just left work, went up into the mountains, and killed himself.
He
And
was just like, I'm done.
I've had multiple trans friends commit suicide. One of which was Ava. I miss her dearly. She was a beautiful soul, but that part of my heart still hurts for the loss that I suffered with those people. And if I would have been given the opportunity to give them a fond farewell, I probably wouldn't be as uh, traumatized by their absence.
Mm. That is a very interesting concept that you just posed there. Respectful suicide. Is there such
Yeah,
a thing? That's something. Um,
it's a hard topic to broach. Because anytime you run into these things, you always come up to inevitably the measurement problem.
right.
Where do we say, okay, we'll help you versus we won't help you, you're on your own? You know what I
So
mean?
I want to give I want to give air and space to those who are, you have some kind of illness and you are suffering and you want to stop suffering. I believe that deserves air and space. And I'm struggling with just fully labeling that suicide, right? At the same
Right.
time, I do not think it is fair to compare that to like a 26-year-old man, picking up a gun and blowing his brains out.
Yeah.
You know, somehow that is not the same. And it's very hard for me to find the words to, completely say why that's different. I'm going to have to do some reading, but it's different.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. But I feel so badly and so strongly for Regina King because she's lost something that was, I could probably easily argue that her child was a part of who she is.
For sure, for sure.
It's such a shame. It's such a shame.
Bradford said, yes, there is a such a thing as respectful suicide. Um, I'm curious what that looks like. I want to type more in the chat about that. Um, I'm curious about what you're saying. Say a man is. I'm not going against you at all. I'm just trying to figure out what we mean. What are we saying here? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Bradford is an incredibly intelligent human being, and I've so far I've only met him recently, but he seems to be a very kind, um, a very kind, intellectually astute individual, and I think this is actually somewhere in his education field, so he might give us a good answer.
We're
But
waiting on you. He also said, I'll put that last comment back up. He also says he agrees it's different than a 27-year-old blowing their brains out. So for sure. And I think it's different because if somebody commits suicide because they have PTSD, I think that's someone that we should go after and that we should um, be changing the structure for. They have a mental health issue that we are not addressing, right?
yeah, yeah, the way we address PTSD, especially with veterans and combat veterans specifically, is pretty abysmal.
Right. But I think that's very different than finding out you have terminal cancer um, and you're deciding that you want to go ahead and end it. You're tired.
Yeah, yeah. There's and the worst ones are where they decide to take someone out with them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Therapists, medical doctors, family members all can agree that physician-assisted suicide is a respectful, mindful end to human life. 100 and 100,000% agree with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the thing, I keep going back to Regina and her. I think it was her son, right?
Yeah, it
What
was.
what was not there to stop him from doing that? That's what I want to know. You know what I mean? And it's obvious. I mean, obviously Regina loves her son and was there for him wherever she could possibly be. But to that child in specifically, what was missing in their life, in their heart, in their soul, in their mind that made them not want to be here? Suicide influenced by trauma is radically different than physician assisted suicide. Yeah.
I think that's what we're saying. You're hitting the nail on the head, Bradford.
We
But
should
I
be
guess
getting Bradford in here too. Jeez.
Bradford, get
Yeah.
in here. No,
Yeah.
but I
Let's.
guess the answer is why. Why is that different? Why
Yeah.
why is that different? You know what? We gotta. I've had shows on suicide before. I've had several shows actually on suicide. As a matter of fact, I had one about biblical suicide, right?
Interesting.
And yeah, and the different characters in the Bible who committed suicide, and we talked a little bit about why they committed suicide. So this is a subject matter that I do embrace talking about because I do not want us to lose our loved ones because we're not giving them the support they need, the tools that they need mentally and emotionally to survive everyday life, to thrive in everyday life. I want us to be there for them, um, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Pelu or unpopular, you guys have an opinion on this?
Payluz, I think, working and unpopular. We have to hold a gun to his head.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. No
we have
pun
to
intended, I
threaten him.
guess.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
pun intended. We have to. I know that was really apropos. Anyway, sorry about that. Don't mean to offend anyone. Don't get me. Well, you can get me
Well,
because I am
okay. I'm gonna give
unpopular.
a little bit of thoughts. No, it's Pelu. This is Pelu, right? It's
Okay.
Pelu. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit of thoughts about what was said. Like, it's a difficult question, really, and it's a lot of nuance to it because it's like we are talking about suicides, right? But all
Mm-hmm.
suicide is relates to the issue of life and death. So it's like, how sacred is life to us? So where is life sacred? This is a deep issue about the sacredcy of life and how not, and when can we say we taking it or not. So we have, I think there's no way to talk about a situation without talking about having the sacredcy of life at its forefront. And when you have the sacredcy of life is at its forefront, you would have to have the grantor of that sacredcy at its forefront. So that's my 2 cents right there.
Yeah, and definitely, can you guys hear me?
We can. We can.
Yeah, definitely piggybacking off what Pelu just said and everything that you and Steve were just discussing. Like, how I look at it is just like, in society, and when it comes to the things that we have to associate ourselves with the things that we have to do and get done, the things that we go through emotionally, it's just like one of those things where it's like the pressure is on at all times. And a lot of the times I feel like it has to do with just how we move energy about. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, depending on the two different stances of how you look at suicide, like you guys were just discussing, it's just like one of those things where people need outlets. They need ways to express themselves. And living in a society where it's, predominantly controlled by the subcultures that we subscribe to, a lot of people, they just need ways to express themselves, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like I'll never be able to understand the pressure or the mindset that somebody is in when they're going through that agony right before they do what they have to do to end their life. Now, I can say that I've been in situations where my anxiety has got the best of me, and it's probably one of the most recent stories of my life, in the past couple of years. And I was dealing with anxiety. Like I used to have like this thing about not knowing if my life was gonna get any better. You know, looking at the future as if I'm gonna be out on the streets or if I'm gonna be homeless, and you know what I'm saying? A lot of that stuff used to affect me, and I had to go get help, to be honest. And I got help, and that the help worked. And it's just one of those things where it's just like I'm not, like I was just saying, I'm not a professional on suicide and stuff. And but I will say that it's really about energy to me. Showing love and care to your people, being in their lives, making sure that they're asking them, is everything all right? Asking them, you want to go get some breakfast today, or maybe you want to go shopping, catch a movie? Is there anything you want to talk about? And it's just like I know people do that on a regular basis, because I have those conversations with my mom a lot. She's always checking on me and saying, "Are you okay?" And but I ask her, "Are you okay?" You know what I'm saying? And not to to circle back around when we was talking about just like the masculinity and stuff, and like the way I was raised. Not to go against anybody's um opinion about how they think people should live. But I was raised by a bunch of strong women. You know what I'm saying? They never really complained about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put them in the same category as men when it comes to, because women have to work too. Women have to take care of what they have to take care of also. And I'm not saying that the woman should be like the head of the situation, but I know a lot of women that will do that without that even being a discussion, because that's something that they must do. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, in the society that we live in, is we like to politicize a lot of these situations. Yes, it is important for a man to be there, but if a man is not there and he has never been there, especially due to a lot of the way that especially due to the way that culture is set up and the way that we tend to treat women, I just feel like it's up to a woman to separate herself from the bullshit. And like, how I see women nowadays, a lot of the older women, they are they had their children. They said they wanted their children. They really didn't give a damn about if the man cared or not. They wanted children. And for the main part, that's how I've always seen it. It's the woman, being the nurturer, being the carrier of the child that says, "This is my child. I want my child. I really don't give a damn about are if you even want to be in your own child's life, because I'm gonna be in my child's life. I'm gonna take care of my child." And a lot of the time that gets politicized as, she's a single parent or she's a single mother, when at the end of the day she's just being a guaranteed breadwinner, no matter what the fuck anybody thinks or what anybody says. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my response to what you guys were talking about earlier about that. But the suicide thing, that's a tricky situation, because it's just like I couldn't imagine the agony. Well, I could imagine, like, it's beating you up in your head. Maybe you're hearing voices. Um, Maybe the anxiety, the pain is rushing through your body, and it just makes you. It's to the point where you're just saying, I have to end this. I have to get rid of it. But trying to understand that emotionally is hard, because it's just like that's a lot of pain, and you could try to imagine it. It's not impossible to imagine it, but you can try to imagine the pain. And that's something I've never had to deal with. It like because we're all human. So to sit here and actually try to coin in on what that pain could feel like is actually part of the discussion also. But um, that's my retort. Anybody else can take it wherever they need to take it.
All I'm going to say is unpopular. Bring it, bring it, bring it. I loved it. I loved it. And you touched on so much, you touched on that funny idea that we started off with, the matriarch versus the patriarch. Um, I think they both have a lot of validity. And what you said, though, is it's making me wonder what's happening in society, um, that makes women, when they are the matriarch, and we know that it's happening, they're the head of the family, they have to do every single thing that guys are doing, but that suicide rate is not high when versus when the men are faced with those same situations, they are, they're committing suicide. And so, what I'm coming up with is two things. I'm coming up with this idea of not enough support and connectivity, and tools are there for um, men's mental health. And I'm coming up with the effectiveness um, and efficiency that men, or how effective men are when it comes to committing suicide, just because of the tool they choose to use there, which is generally a gun. So I would like to see more tools for men to become healthy, mentally healthy, and I would like to, you know, um, maybe I don't know what to say about guns, because I certainly am a Second Amendment kind of person. I do believe that we need to kind of revisit some of the ideas we have around it. I'll say it like that.
Well, hey, you mind if I jump real quick? I'm not gonna be long.
Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
hear what you're saying, and that's the thing, because you said what was the first part of the question again? Because I'm trying, because you said you see what?
So it really wasn't a question. It was really me celebrating what Unpopular put out there. He talked about single mothers, and women in general carrying that full weight that men do. And it's really that comparison where men have to also carry that weight, but yet that suicide rate is so high, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay,
And
I gotta get it. I remember what I want to say now. I remember what I
okay,
want to say real quick. Yeah, and I think the world was kind of meant to be that way, because I think that's, like I said, like, men are paint stickers, but I think that paint sticking role is basically the evolutionary engine of humanity. To me, I think men are naturally supposed to be the evolutionary engine of humanity, and that painstaking role allows men to move society forward, to move technology forward, to move human progress forward. So it's a skill. So men have the burden of moving human progress, and it could be terrible on your soul. So yeah, of course, we need to develop educations for emotions, so we could be better at our role of being the engine of human progress and evolution and glorification of the creator that allowed us to create in the world he created. Thank you.
Um, hmm. I'll say this: if that is the case, then how come they're folding um, so much under this pressure?
Casualties is the casualties. Is the casualties of life. Is the human condition. It's tragedy. That's part of life.
I think that we should do a better job with supporting men and their mental health. Full
I think
stop.
so too. Absolutely. And that kind of brings to, because I pulled out a book that I remembered. This is from The Boy Crisis, Warren Farrell, right?
Uh huh.
In page 284, if you have the book, if you're watching, it's suicide, mostly about boys. So let's study girls. And it begins with when the National Association of Social Workers studies suicide, they study only female suicide. When social worker Tom Golden asked why, he was told by the executive director that it was because the funding only allowed the study of girls.
Hmm.
The director goes on to say, as much as I would love to lead the charge in finding out why boys kill themselves, trying to go figure out and get funding for it. So I think it's partially the problem is that we're looking in the wrong places to address male suicide because, as far as we can tell, we're not actually looking for it. And this is not to say that girls should be blamed for this. They should absolutely not even be a part of this conversation. What should be the part of the conversation to look at is why aren't we studying males suicide?
I think the donor class um, is who we would look for,
Yeah.
and I,
Also, there's if you look at
do you think do you think men want to study this? That's what I'm going. That's really what I'm wondering at
I
this
haven't found
moment.
a man yet that wouldn't.
Okay.
The reason why I say that, and really quick, I need to go back to your Second Amendment question. There has to be a conversation around gun rights and suicide because I think it was like 43,000 out of 43,000 gun related deaths, 36,000 of those I think it was gun related. So it was
Wow.
someone using a firearm to end their own life.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was they don't tell you that when they quote gun statistics, but to the
I'm.
second part of the question is yeah, I've talked to many men, even those who are unwilling to go to therapy or unwilling to even join something as simple as a men's mental health support group. Every single one of them have been, yes, this absolutely needs to happen, but don't call me to go to a support group. I don't want to go. It's so
Hmm.
weird how men behave around this topic. It's like, I put out a call on my Facebook page to all the men that I know. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Would you be willing to join if we did? And I had an overabundance of men who thought it was a absolutely fantastic idea, but that they probably wouldn't join it.
So we're definitely going to have to break through the resistance. We're going to put a pin in it for now. Go support our girl Charmin. She's on my friend's channel today, ACEs Matter. ACEs Matter stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. It's something that we all should be talking about because if you were an adult, you were once a child. Um,
Right?
it's Exactly. So I just love her. I love Cindy Stanford and everything she's doing over at ACEs Matter. I'm going to go check out her stream and give that some support. But stay tuned because obviously this is an important subject and we will keep talking about it. Thank you for watching, guys. And thank you to my wonderful panelists. I appreciate you. Bye bye for now.